on around the big bus plane.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. I am Julie
Hello.
Riley, the social media manager here at StreamYard, and I am with my amazing co-host, Leticia Campbell. How are
Hi.
you
Hello,
doing?
everybody.
It is Friday. It has been a long week, but a good week. I feel like I've been
Yes.
everywhere this week. So
Yes.
I'm excited to be here, though. I'm excited for our guest and our topic. Oh my
Yes, it
gosh. Like,
is.
I
It's an
love it.
amazing topic, guys. Y'all better have a pen and paper out right now.
Yep. It is a new year and it is time to get your game together, get
Yes,
your
it is.
plan and really hit this year strong. But before that, we want to know, first of all, tell us where you're watching from. I love one of the
Yes.
things I absolutely love about being on the StreamYard channel and working for us is that we have such an amazing global audience.
Yes, we
There are
do.
people from all over the world that tune in. And so I love seeing that. We've got Smackdown Outdoors saying snowy Minnesota. You keep that snow up
Oh,
there.
yes. You
I'm,
keep it all the way up
I'm just a
there.
little further south, but not far. And I don't want the snow.
Yes.
Although they're calling for it tonight and tomorrow, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, see, Cali, that's
Cali.
more my weather. I like that. I'll
Yes.
take that weather over
We
snowy
got,
Minnesota.
yes,
We
South
got Texas,
Carolina.
so we got just north of me in Minnesota and just south of me in Texas. I'm right there in between. And then you are over on the East Coast hanging out, right, Leticia?
Yes, I'm in New York, and surprisingly so, we have not had super cold. It's been cold, but not as cold as when I was a little girl. It was already snowing by now when I was younger.
Awesome.
Yes,
Oh my gosh, I love just seeing, yeah, everybody where they're at.
Columbus,
So
Ohio.
first thing I want to talk about that we've got coming up. Well, first, if you're watching the replay, let us know that you're watching the replay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll still come back and chat with you. We want to know that you're here later. Also, if you are in the Facebook group watching, make sure that you click the link in the description that will give us permission to see your name. Otherwise, we will only see Facebook user, and I can't say hi to Facebook
I
user. I mean,
know.
I can, but I don't know who you are. So I want to know who you are. So make sure you click that link in there. Okay, coming up next Thursday, we have the StreamYard Connect Summit. We are
Yes,
excited to be hitting off 2022. Oh my gosh, I have to think about it right now when I
I
say it still.
know. Yes.
Yes, with the StreamYard Connect Summit. It is free to RSVP. You go to streamyard.com/SY Connect, and that will register you for the StreamYard Connect Summit. We have an amazing lineup of speakers. So we've got Dan and Gage, of course, our founders, who are going to be sharing a very exciting product announcement. We will also be hearing from our engineers on what's up and coming with StreamYard. What's on the roadmap? You know, everybody wants to know, what are we working on? So our engineers are going to be coming and talking to you and telling you a little bit more about that.
I can't wait.
Our keynote is our friends at Think Media, and they're going to be sharing with you how to grow your reach and impact. Then we're also going to hear a technical side of things. We're going to hear how to reach your audience effectively. We're going
Mm-hmm.
to hear how to get engagement, grow your brand. So all the important things that you need when you are working with video, and it's free.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, free. There will be replays, but you got to register to get the replays. So
Yes. And thank
make
you for
sure.
those of you who said you already signed up. That's excellent.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With that, I think we should hear from our guest, bring him up, we'll introduce him, and
Yeah.
we're going to dive into talking all about repurposing
Mm-hmm.
with the amazing Ian Anderson Gray. So,
Hello, great to
yeah,
be here. Good to see you guys.
I know, I love it. Okay, so Ian, you are the founder of the Confident Live Marketing Academy, the host of Confident Live Marketing Podcast. You help entrepreneurs to level up their impact, authority, and profits by using live video confidently. You're the founder of Seriously Social, a blog focused on live video and social media tools, an international speaker, trainer, teacher, and consultant. You have a passion for making the technobabble of live video and social media marketing easy to understand. I love that. As well as being a geek, husband, and dad of 2 kids. You're a
Wow.
professional singer. I didn't know that one. Ooh.
Ooh.
And you live in Manchester in the UK. So
That's right.
first of all, we're grateful that you're joining us on your Friday evening, because this is an evening for you right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just after 6 p.m. But,
Oh, wow.
no, I've been excited about this. I've been looking forward to this all day. So thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Well, we're so glad you're here. So why don't you tell us, I mean, that was a lot. So tell us more about you, though, and how you really got into social media and social media marketing. Because, I mean, this wasn't a career that was around 20 years ago when we all were getting started in our careers or even a little further into them.
Very true.
So how did you end up here?
What are you saying? I mean, this was all planned right from when I was age 5. No, I'm joking. I'd love to say it was like properly planned. But like, so yeah, as you said, like I trained as music was a big thing in my life. I trained as a professional classical singer. I sang around the country and I taught singing, but I was always interested in technology. And it was about 2011 is when I set up my blog and I started blogging about social media tools. I was really interested in that. But my music side, my performance side and the technology side, they just felt very different, very distinctive in my life. And it wasn't until I went to social media marketing world, I think it was 2016, and there was like this big musical. It's like so weird that there's a musical. I was with these other people about social media. And then it was that year, 2016 is when Facebook Live came about. And I suddenly had this epiphany moment. Wow, like my background as a performer, my background as a teacher, and my background in technology come together with live video. And I wrote an article that year about how to broadcast to Facebook Live using the software that was around at the time, which was quite complicated. StreamYard wasn't around then. And it went viral. And I thought, yeah, I need to start talking about live video a lot more. And also, it might not look like this, but I'm an introvert, and I'm actually quite a shy person. So the whole confidence thing, I want to be there for people who maybe don't have the confidence with the technology or with themselves getting in front of the camera. And that's really my goal, is to help people have the confidence to get in front of the camera and do amazing things, because we all have this amazing message and this expertise that we need to share with people, and live video is the perfect medium for that.
I love that. So you really jumped into live video then, right at the very early days of it on social media.
Yeah.
What have you learned from doing live and growing and changing? Because we all started, I know I look back on my early lives and I'm like, ooh, those were cringeworthy. They were bad.
Yes.
So how do you feel that you've grown and learned in it and kind of it leveled up and advanced?
Well, the big thing right back then, I thought the way to my success was improving my background and my camera and my microphone. And there was like 1 month when I didn't go live for a whole month because I felt I needed to spend time with getting the technology right. And well, it wasn't really the technology. It was my background and that kind of stuff. And then I realized my audience were there waiting for me, and I was like not doing anything. And I was so like stressed and worried about, actually the real issue was I was just worried about getting in front of the camera and looking like a complete idiot. And so the biggest journey that I've had to undertake is the mindset journey. Yes, technology is important. Yes, gear is important. But if you've got to get over yourself, you've got to get over that worrying about looking like a fool in front of the camera, stumbling over the words.
Right.
And I call myself today, I'm not a perfectionist, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I'd love to know, anyone watching, are you a recovering perfectionist like me? Live video is the greatest medium for that, because do you know what? It's never going to be perfect.
Never.
You are going to mess up, and you just get on with it. And also those bits when you do mess up are great for those outtakes for later, so don't lose them. But yeah, that's what I needed to get over. That's the biggest thing, and it's been a hard journey, but it's been an amazing journey, and I'm so glad.
What made you hit the go button? Because I remember the early days of live streaming where people were like, oh, that's not going to go anywhere. Those are the rumors that we were here in the beginning.
Yeah.
And for introverts, it was hard for people for them to hit that goal button. But what made you say, you know what, this is something relevant here? Like, what made live streaming for you relevant when really over half the world was like, nah, this is not really going to go anywhere. It's not, people are not going to really prefer watching a live versus watching television, which is where the world is now. People prefer watching a live stream versus seeing a show on television these days. So what made it relevant for you?
Such a good question, because we forget that back then it just, people said, oh yeah, this is not going to last. And I remember Google Hangouts on air. I mean, I'm really showing my age now. I remember being asked to go onto a show, and I was absolutely petrified. I was so stressed. I was so worried about it. And then, like, when Facebook Live came about it was 2016, wasn't it? And I was interested in the technology side of it. Being in the UK, I didn't have access to it. I didn't have an iPhone at the time. And so I was interested in, like, how do I get access to this? And so, and making it easy for people. And then I kept on being asked by people for more information. And I thought, oh, I actually have to go live now, don't I? I can't just talk about it. I need to actually embrace this. And so you could have called me back in those days, the reluctant live video guy. But what changed it for me, so to answer your question, is it highlights the real you. I know the word authenticity is overly used, but like what you're seeing at the moment is me. I could try and put an act on, but it's much more difficult for me to put an act on now than with a pre-recorded video. So what you're seeing now is the real me. You're seeing the real us. And that's so important when you're working with clients, because they are going to be working with you. Or if you're a product-based company, people want to get to know the people behind the brand. So it's that. But do you know what the biggest thing for me is? As a recovering perfectionist, it just took me forever to create content. Blogging changed my life, but it would take me weeks and weeks and weeks to put a blog post together. And a pre-recorded video on YouTube, oh, just don't get me started on that one. So with live video, I would press start. I'd plan it all in advance, but I'd press start and I'd get on with that content, and I'd have this piece of content that like didn't take anywhere the same amount of time or the stress levels. And that's what opened my eyes up. Wow. As well as obviously building your community. There's something amazing about, as you've got an amazing community here, you know, of people who just want to see you live and want to engage with you. So all those things.
I love that you said that about the recovering perfectionist with, you know, being able to just go live and everything. And then your cringe there at the pre-recorded, because that's where then my perfectionism overtakes, and I would go down the longest rabbit hole of trying to edit and film this perfect scripted, you know, poised video that is an act. And I would end up spending countless hours on something that is polished and perfect, but still never perfect in my own eyes. So then I would be stuck on it and fixated, where, when you go live, you're live. You know, I went live with Desiree Martinez on Wednesday and stumbled through the bio. I was like, and finally by the end, I was just like, clearly I need more coffee, but let's roll with this. And it was fun, and it was engaging, and the audience chuckled and laughed at it, and it was real.
That's
right. People don't want perfect though, do they? I mean, it's like on Instagram stories. Like I realized this like relatively recently. I was like going through the Instagram stories, and I realized I just like skipped over like 2 or 3 different accounts. I thought, why did I do that? And I went back, and it was because like they were overly polished. They felt like ads. And what I found that I was drawn to the more authentic, the raw type of Instagram stories. And I think it's the same with this. Like Julie, like if you had done that like perfect pre-recorded video, I don't think that would have been as engaging, sorry to say, as like when you messed up over your words and we saw the real you. And I think that's what people want. I think people want real human beings.
They do. And when you're too perfect, because I was like, I started off in the Google Hangout days, and I still have those videos up. I won't take them down because I like to see my journey.
Yeah.
But I realize that when you are speaking so much perfection, then your audience is going to feel like they can't reach that. Like you're promoting something that's not achievable, and that turns them off. And it's like celebrities are now starting to become more authentic now because they know that people build that know, like, and trust factor more with you that you're trying to make things. You know, you could tweak little things like what you were saying, the sound, the camera quality, and things like that. But if you're wild and quirky, be wild and quirky. You know what I mean? If you have a certain type of lingo, keep that lingo. There's an audience for everybody.
Yes. And at the end of the day, on top of that, also don't try to be that person for everybody. You're not going to be for everybody. And that's okay. You know, I had somebody early on in my live days say I talk with my hands too much. And they were like, I don't like that. And I was like, well, it's me. And that's what you're going to get. My brain doesn't work if the hands aren't moving. So.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I think we need to, the biggest obstacle we've got is ourselves and like worrying about how we sound and the way we look. And I think we've all had to go on that. Well, most of us have had to go on that journey. Like I didn't like the way I sounded. I didn't like my background and I didn't like this. I mean, I could go through it all. And do you know what, actually, I've spoken with a lot of the really kind of live video experts out there. And when you speak to them, they've got the same issue. You know, they've had the same issue. They've had to go through that and realize, actually, I need to lean into the bits that I don't necessarily like about myself, because those are the bits that are, I'm going to use a big word now, if I can get it right, idiosyncrasies. The bits about us that are different and strange are the bits that our perfect clients are going to find fascinating and be attracted to. They will equally, those bits about us will probably repel some other people, and that's okay. Like some people might not like my accent, they might not like my glasses, they might, I don't know, they just might not like they might not like me, and that's okay, because you know, actually we should be repelling the people who aren't a good fit for us and attracting the people that are.
Yes, so much.
That's right.
And
that's right.
To piggyback on where you were talking about earlier there with, you know, you not liking the way you sound, things like that. Do you know there's actually a term for that, for not liking the sound of your own voice?
Oh, what is it?
It's called voice confrontation. And it's something that almost everyone has.
Wow.
Almost everyone does not like the sound of their own voice. And once you learn that, and you learn that there's a term for that, it's so much easier to get over it and say, okay, nobody likes the way they sound. There's actually a term for it. Well, now I can get over that piece of it.
And that's really interesting. I mean, and the reason for that, or one of the reasons for that, is that we don't actually get to hear the way we sound most of the time, because we're hearing it. Our ears are on our sides of our heads, and we're kind of hearing it kind of reverberating around the room, but also like we're hearing that the vibrations in our head. So like when we actually hear our voice as other people hear it, we think, I don't sound like that, I sound weird. So you've got to get over that first. And we're just the other way I look at this is, if we were to treat our clients the way we treated ourselves, we'd be sacked so quickly. So like, I think the way I taught singing was, I would always look at I'd look at what's a positive thing about the way you did. So look at your first live video. What did you do well? Let's look at that. And it's easier if you do that with some other person, with a friend of yours, because they're not going to allow you to beat yourself up. So think about the positive thing first, and then instead of saying like, well, what was absolutely awful about it, think about it, well, what can I do better? What can I improve for next time? And do it that way, frame it that way, because we all want to improve, but we tend to beat ourselves up and say we were just atrocious and really bad, which isn't constructive.
Yeah, but it goes back to the point that you initially said, get over yourself. Like, just get over yourself. Like, for me, I think about the people that I'm helping. Like, if I don't show up, that means I'm not helping somebody.
Yeah.
And I think if we really focus on impact, right? Like the show's called Live Impact, that, you know, you're going to take yourself totally out of the equation. It's like you're going to show up because what you have to share with, if somebody watches it today or next year, they're going to walk away with something essential. And I think we have to go back to content, and as what we're going to get into today with the conversation now, and make it about the foundation. Because once you do that, you're taking yourself totally out of the equation, and you're only focusing on providing a result for someone else.
That's so important. Yeah, the most important person in your live shows is your audience.
That's right.
And
amen.
then the second is your guest, if you have a guest. And you're right. I'm sorry to say, but like you're right bottom of the pile. Like,
Yeah.
you're not important.
You're just a vessel. That's
Yeah.
it. Be that.
So with that, let's start to talk about this content repurposing because we've got all this amazing content that we're creating. But then, we need to know, first of all, why is content repurposing so important?
It's important because you are creating this valuable piece of information, valuable piece of content. Not everyone is going to be consuming it on your live video. Some people might watch the replay, but what about people who are like driving in their cars or doing the washing up, or I hate to say this, they might not even like live video. They might actually prefer to read. And so you're missing out on all these other types of people out there who are not going to be consuming your content. And from your point of view, you're spending all this time planning your content, planning your live video, you're doing it. What a waste to just leave it there to kind of like disappear. So I think I call live video the perfect antidote to recovering perfectionists because of, yes, you have to do that planning, but then you get on the show, you create all this content. From that one piece of content, you can turn it into a content repurposing machine that will allow you to create blog posts, podcasts, social media images, you name it. You can create it all from this one live episode. And I know that sounds like a lot of work and it sounds complicated, but it doesn't need to be. So the old days, I would spend hours, I'd spend weeks creating a blog post. Now I don't need to. I create a live show. I will probably spend maybe an hour, sometimes even only just half an hour planning my live show. And then from that, I can then repurpose it into so many different things. And the big reasons why I think repurposing is so important.
I love that. Okay. So there are so many places somebody can choose to repurpose. I mean, it is like, at this point, it's reaching almost an endless number of options, from blogs to podcasts to stories to reels, YouTube shorts, Instagram posts. I mean, and the list could go on. So where does someone start?
Be everywhere. Don't do that. Don't do that, because that's the temptation. I'm joking, because that was my temptation. I thought, oh wow, I could create Twitter fleets, which aren't a thing anymore. So they're the Twitter stories, and Instagram stories and podcasts. So I think make it really super simple. First of all, where do your audience hang out, and what type of content do they like to consume? So it could be that you want to focus on podcasting and your live. So that might just be two things. And that's actually really easy to do. Or maybe you think blogging is really important. So first of all, think about your audience. That's obviously the most important thing. But I do think it's important to think about what you actually enjoy creating as well, particularly if you are a very small business and if you're just doing this all yourself. If you have a team, if you have a virtual assistant, then you can start to kind of grow and do more things. But what type of platform, what type of medium do you enjoy? For me, I love podcasting. And I love blogs. So it made sense for me to focus on those two different things. And so that's what I would focus on. Choose maybe one or two other places that you can repurpose to. That's it to begin with. Later on, you can get all fancy. If you can grow your team, you can get some place. And if I was to share my process now on screen, it would probably blow your minds, because there's so much stuff going on. But it wasn't like that right at the start. So just keep it simple and just think about one or two different places. And there are loads of tools to help. It doesn't need to be complicated.
I love that. And we're going to get into those tools in a little bit. So we'll talk about some of those. I love what you said there, though, about starting with the places, one, that your audience is at, and two, the places you enjoy. Because at the end of the day, if you're sitting there and going, I hate blocking. It makes me miserable. It makes me angry, but I have to do it. You're gonna give it up. You're gonna make it maybe a couple months at the most, and then you're gonna be like, I can't do this because it truly makes me miserable. And so that's not the place to start. That's the place to add in later when you can add in a team member that can take that role on and you can hand that off, or that you can outsource that piece of it.
That's right.
So don't start with the places that are going to make you miserable.
Exactly. And I'm glad you said that, Ian, because early on, I can go back to when there was like courses for this, and they would say, show up everywhere, spread your like spider web feet and whatever little examples they would say, and how really detrimental that is for you because you can't keep up with that. I like that you said, try to repurpose in 1 or 2 places because you can start creating a system for that. You know, I started to do that and started to record my process and then send it over to my team. So now they have like a visual view of it. And you know how it is with teams. You let people go and you hire new people and they're just taking on that system and that process from day one. So I just love that you mentioned that.
It's so important. And it's not just from your point of view, as obviously the more you do, the more places you repurpose to, the more effort there is involved with that. But you've got to think, social media in particular, but any kind of content is usually social. It's two-way. So if you are like repurposing into Instagram Reels or blog posts or podcasts and you're not listening to your audience, like you're missing out. And it's not just you're missing out. It's just your audience are going to get frustrated with you. It's kind of like, this is a slight, I have a bee in my bonnet about live shows where the host does not acknowledge the audience and the comments, and you're highlighting comments on the screen, which is great. But if you're not acknowledging your community, then you're losing out on your big who are actually going to help you grow more. So that's so important.
No, that's exactly it. And I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our audience. I mean, at the end of the day, if I don't have an audience that's coming in and hanging out, then why am I here? Because then I'm just a talking head. And that defeats the purpose of live video. At that point, then I can go make that recorded video that I'm going to overthink and spend way too much time trying to perfect.
Right. And people just like to be acknowledged. I think when you acknowledge them and call them out, they love that. And that made me remember why I followed a lot of people that I still follow to this day. Is when I joined their live, they said my name, they said my full name, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna keep back watching it because she's like really, she's noticing me. You don't really get that when you're like at a concert or at a workshop or a mastermind. You don't really get that when you're in a room full of people. And when you have watching somebody's broadcast and they have 100 people, 200 people in there, and they shout you out, that feels real good as an individual watching. Yeah.
And it's funny because I've been over in the banners tab. Leticia's been in the comments tab. I just bounced back over to the comments tab for a minute and saw we actually have our good friend Rob, who I have to point out is the only person that I know of that has the StreamYard logo tattooed.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yep. He tattooed it live. Gosh, it's been a little over a year now that he got that tattoo. So, yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing. Wow.
He gets
Love
a freedom.
See, we all
we send him all kinds of stuff for that.
we all want to rob in our community, don't we?
Yes. I'm gonna search for more Robs.
That is your goal. You can scroll down on our Instagram page. It's further down now at this point, but you can scroll down and find actually the picture of his tattoo there.
I love that.
December of 2020. So I knew it's been just over a year.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. But no, I love that.
Awesome.
Okay,
Congrats.
so with that, let's kind of jump back into talking about this repurposing because,
We're
this
getting a lot
really
of questions
is
coming in.
at the beginning of the year is when people really sit down and they start to plan out their goals and plan out their methods. It's kind of that fresh start feeling. So this is that good chance to start to plan this out. So what would be a good kind of strategy of somebody starting to plan this process and go about it without going, but you said I don't have to be everywhere, but I still don't know where to be. And I'm very overwhelmed with how to get into this and really how to start to plan this process.
Well, the first thing I'll say is you don't need to repurpose every live that you do. There are different types of live broadcasts, and I think we have to be clear. This type of show that you've got here it's kind of the evergreen tips and advice type of live show. But there are different ones. And my friend, a friend of mine, Sam Ashdown, came up with a great acronym. It's called BLAST. And these are the different types of live shows that you can have. So the B for BLAST is behind the scenes content. People love that. Now, you could repurpose that, I suppose. That would work. L is for local, which is kind of putting the spotlight on what's happening in your local area. Even if your clients are worldwide, they'd still probably be interested in what's happening locally. The A is for a day in the life. What are you working on today? What are your thoughts? What are you working on? S is for sneak peek. So this is something that you're working on that might be top secret, exclusive content. And then finally, this type of show is tips and advice. It's a pillar content. And I think that type of show that you do is perfect for repurposing. So you don't need to do everything. And for me, I do a weekly show that I then repurpose into a podcast and a blog post. So that's the second step then is to think, well, so the first step is which live am I going to repurpose? The second is where are you going to do that to? And I would focus on one or possibly two, if you're feeling brave at the start, to broadcast to. To repurpose to. Now, the method will depend on obviously where you're going to go, where you're going to repurpose to, which we can talk about in a bit. But that brings me on to the third structure of your show. This is vital. So if you are going to repurpose this into a small video snippet or into a podcast, you need to structure the show in a way that's going to make that easy for you later on. To give you an idea with podcasting, what I do is I have a little, what I call a live segment in the beginning, where I have a little informal chat with my guest and we talk with our people in the comments. That bit's not going to be for the podcast. And then what I will do is I will then say, right, it's time to go on with the podcast part now. So we'll be with you just after this. And then I'll play something on the screen. I'll play a little short video, which you can do in StreamYard. You can just click and play a pre-recorded video. And at that point, that's when the podcast starts. So I'll start again. I'll say, welcome to the Confident Live Marketing Show. In today's show, we're talking about da-da-da-da-da-da. So it then means that when I edit it for the podcast, I just get rid of the beginning bit, and then the show is really well. Now, some people talk to me about, well, what about the comments? Like, you want to engage with people in the comments. That's not going to make it that great for the podcast. And I kind of disagree, because I do think it's important to know how to deal with the live comments. And the way I do that is I structure my show into 3 sections. So the first part is I will talk with my guest, or I will talk myself. I will ask them questions, and we focus on that. Sometimes, and actually very often, there'll be an amazing question from somebody in the comments. So I'll bring that on. But then the end of that first section, let's look at the comments and see what people are talking about. And then we'll go into section 2, then go to the comments, section 3, comments. And that works really well for the podcast. Because the people listening to the podcast know that there's a live, this is from a live audience. And that actually what happens is a lot of those people listening to the podcast will come and watch it next time. So the only thing I will say, when you are repurposing it into a podcast, you have to think about 3 different audiences. This show today, you're thinking about the people watching now, the live viewers, but you're also thinking about people in the future, your replay viewers. Now, the difference between those is the live audience, all the people leaving comments, they can see each other. They know they're part of a community in the group, whereas the people in the future are watching on their own. It's a slightly more intimate experience. And it's the same when you repurpose into a podcast, because they are from the future. and they are listening on their own. It's a more, it's just a different experience. But the other difference is, of course, is they can't see; they can only listen. So I would, if you're thinking about repurposing into a podcast, I would just focus on that and nothing else to begin with, because there's just a few extra things to think about. So I know there's a lot there, but I've thought about it a lot.
I wrote down the blast, all the notes for that. That's awesome.
I know, I saw you over there taking notes. I love this. No, I think those are all really great points. And I love the way you break that down on that blast, but then also on how somebody can really take and plan that out and go, okay, I know that I want to later repurpose this into that podcast. So here's kind of a good way I can segue that from that live show to also be that podcast. So you can get that dual purpose out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important. There was one other thing that I forgot to mention. So I focused a lot there on the production and the structure of the show, which is really important. But there are technically 5 stages, and I call these the 5 Ps of live video. So the first P is the planning your content. And that is the structure of the show, and obviously getting your guest. But just, you do need to spend time planning that and thinking about, well, this is not just a live show. This is going to end up being a podcast or a blog post or an Instagram reel or whatever it is. So think about that. The second then, of course, is repurposing that pre-promoting that content, pre-promoting. So with a tool like StreamYard, you can schedule your broadcast in advance to Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So you'll get that special link in advance that you can then post out on social and to your newsletter. Don't forget your email subscribers if you got those. So let people know in advance. The third P is the production, which is what I kind of focused on before, which is really important. Once you've done the live show, it's tempting to just like go to bed or just do something else and forget about it. But no, you've got to turn it into a piece of evergreen content. So post promotion is important. So like, again, send it out to your email list, to your newsletter, to social media. Turn it into a piece of evergreen content and keep the comments coming. I loved what you said, Julie, at the start. If you're watching the replay, still comment, because we'll get back to you, and we'll, so actually you can create these mini communities around the replays of your live shows. And then finally, the final P, which is the bit that excites me the most, and this is kind of what we're talking about today, is repurposing. I'm kind of cheating, but there is a P in there somewhere. Repurposing your content. So those are the 5 Ps, and I think you need to think about that with all the shows that you do.
I love that. Oh my gosh, like mind blown on so much.
That's a whole system right there.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm gonna have to go back and make lots of repurposed notes.
Yes,
so we
I
can
will do that.
Those out and start to grab those little nuggets, and that's some good tweetable content.
I told you
there.
I'd get a pen and paper.
I know. I need somebody who can live tweet my show while I'm doing it. So I'm like, there's some good tweetable nuggets in there. No, that's perfect. Okay. So I want to make sure that we still have time for a giveaway today and other things. But I want to talk about really what are some of these tools? Because there's hundreds of, there's thousands of options out there. But what are some that you have found that work really well for you to help simplify this process?
I'm glad you asked me this question. I'll be dying to answer this. But the first thing I want to say is, like, tools are not everything. You need to have a process first. Otherwise, tools are not going to solve all your problems. I hate to say that. I think we all think they are, but they're not. So the first thing is, your live video tool is central to everything that you do. So the great thing about StreamYard is that, as well as giving you the video recordings afterwards, you get the audio recordings as well. So that's perfect for MP3s. And if you have guests on, and I think this is really important, I think on one of the, I can't remember which plan in StreamYard, but you can get the separate tracks for your guests. So you and your guests will have separate audio files. Now that's really important, because if I start having a coughing fit halfway through when my guest is saying something absolutely amazing, and people aren't going to be able to hear it. But with the separate audio tracks, I can just cut my coughing fit out. So that's the first thing. A tool like StreamYard that has those features is so, so important. The other tool, which I'm so excited about and I love so much, is Descript. So that's D-E... How do you spell? I can never spell it. Is it D-E-S-C-R-I-P-T?
Yes.
That's the one. Thank you. And it's difficult to explain what this is. It's kind of like a video and audio editing tool, but it transcribes your audio as well. So the way I would do that is I would create a project in Descript. I'd drop my video into one composition for later, so I can then turn that into video snippets. But for the podcast, I would drop in the separate audio files, and then it would transcribe it into the audio. And then all you need to do is go through. You've got your tweetables in there that you can turn into like audiograms and things like that. But you can turn that into your podcast really easily. You can drop your intro and outro. And you don't need to be like a mega professional audio editor because you're just editing words. You download that as an MP3 and you're sorted. And with the video part, you can go through, you can search for, like, what did your guest say? They said something amazing about, I don't know, repurposing or something. So you search for repurposing and you find it, and then you just copy that to a new video, and you can even get it to transcribe and put the words on the screen, captions, and bung it up onto Instagram Reels or Instagram Stories. It's so amazing. So as a repurposing tool, Descript is absolutely central to what I do. There are other tools you can use. There's Wave Video is another one. There's what's the one? There's one called
there's Lately.
Capwing. There's Lately.
Oh, Capwing, yeah.
Yeah. And Headliner is another one as well.
Forgot about Headliner.
So they're kind of like little video snippet editors as well. I use Agorapulse for my social media management tool. I love that. You don't need to use that. You can just use the tools, just use Twitter and Facebook on their own. But I like Agorapulse from an engagement point of view because it allows me to go through my replies and mentions very, very easily. So yes, and then I'm a Mac user, so I use ScreenFlow for this. But if you're a PC user, you can use Camtasia, and I use that to create my Instagram Reels and my TikToks. So what I do is for each of my podcasts, I bring my singing into it, and I sing a silly song every week for the theme. So today, in fact, it's Friday today, isn't it? It was the podcast episode is all about how to go live if you're shy. Can you go live if you're a shy person? And the answer, of course, is yes. But I created a silly song about that, which I edit, and then I put it together in ScreenFlow, and then put it up onto Instagram Reels and TikTok. And I do that every Friday.
Fun. I'm gonna have to go check out ScreenFlow. I haven't tried that one.
ScreenFlow.
Yeah, I've used Camtasia, but I've not used ScreenFlow, so I'm gonna have to go explore that one. Because I'm a Mac user as well. So,
well, the Camtasia works obviously on the Mac as well. And I think if you're a Camtasia user, I would just stick with it. But ScreenFlow is good as well. They're both very similar. And actually, they're both really for screen recording. So if you're creating like tutorial videos, but I kind of hack it and I just use it for recording me in front of a green screen.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to see some completely nuts, silly music videos, just check out my Instagram. And you have been warned; they are silly.
I love it. So I want to get everybody started, so you guys have time to enter the giveaway. So you're going to do #giveaway or #puddles. It's giveaway time. #puddles. Today we are going to give you the mug.
Yes.
So we got the new mug. Yeah. Or water bottle, I guess.
Water bottle, yeah.
Water bottle. But I absolutely love this water bottle.
Gorgeous.
It holds a nice amount of water. It's metal, so it stays cool. But what I like about it is a lot of the metal ones, it's still got the plastic straw piece, but it's like my new favorite water bottle.
I'll put my entry in.
There you go. So yeah, just put hashtag puddles in the comments. While we're letting everybody enter that, I want any other thoughts you have. Anything else you want to share with our audience, Ian?
Yeah. So one thing I've been thinking about this year is, so I've been like really focusing on the repurposing thing since like May 2019 is when I launched my podcast, and it has changed everything. It's been amazing. I would say this very, very strongly. Don't overcomplicate it. Just focus on like one channel. I think somebody was mentioning like, where do I start? Facebook, link your audience, and like, where do you like to hang out? So focus on that. Focus on one type of repurposing first, and over time you will grow it. So I just focused on one thing. I'm doing crazy things now, but it wasn't like that at the start. So that's really, really important to think about. But the other thing that I'm thinking about very much in this year, 2022, it is 2022, isn't it? I have to keep reminding myself. And that is that don't just think about repurposing. This year, I want to do some community-only focused lives where I'm not focusing on the replay. I'm not focusing on repurposing into. I'm just kind of like in the moment. This sounds very kind of zen, but you know what I mean. I'm focused on my audience, and I'm there. I'm answering their questions. I might even bring in like some of my community onto the show. You know, like I know it's a bit scary. You can put the guest link in the comments, and that might be scary, but you know, why not occasionally do something like that and be there for them? So, and yeah, just think about the people who are in your community.
I love that. Before we do the drawing real quick, Leticia, you said we have some questions, I think. So let's take some of those questions.
Yeah. So the first question that came up is this is really beneficial, Ian. I had so much influence in posting my live, and now I cannot stop. So that was just a comment I want to put there.
Oh, thanks, Martin. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, I can't pronounce his name, but he said, I have a question for these three persons. Is it possible to use StreamYard with XSplit?
XSplit.
XSplit,
yeah. I haven't used XSplit. XSplit is a live video tool similar to OBS. So if XSplit has what's called a virtual camera output, you could output that into StreamYard. So I used to do this with OBS. It's not something I tend to recommend, but you can use other software with StreamYard. So if you want to get all fancy and do like stuff in the other tools and then bring it into StreamYard, you can do. But so Stream broadcasts to all the different channels, and then you bring in all the comments, but the bit underneath, it would be run by OBS or XSplit or whatever you want. So I don't know whether XSplit has virtual camera. You'd need to check about that.
I'm not sure. I know we have users who use OBS and some of the other virtual cameras. I have not heard of anyone using XSplit. So
it's PC. It's PC only. It's one of the only tools I've not really spent a huge amount of time with, actually. But it does. You know, it's yeah. Anyway, there we go.
Yes. And I was just getting through the questions. Most of them you did answer, but just one here regarding the marketing. They're asking which tools can we use for marketing, like getting an email list.
Yeah, so like an email mailing list software. Everyone has their favorite. I personally use ActiveCampaign. I love it. But I started off with MailChimp. MailChimp, it gives you free. They've got a free one, I still think. There's also Aweber is another one. There's ConvertKit. There's Drip. So
HubSpot.
Yeah. So like there are loads. So like I personally use ActiveCampaign, but just choose one that you feel. Then you also want to think about, well, how am I going to get people onto that list? And then you want to think about, there's ConvertBox. I used to use Opt-in Monster, but I now use ConvertBox, which is a way of like, putting forms on and pop-ups. I don't particularly like pop-ups, but if you use them well, then you can do that. So yeah, hope that helps.
Yes, and all the other questions you answered. So
well, I'm going to share my tab then, and we're going to bring in the giveaway tool. Dun, dun, dun. Looks like we have 39 entries into the tool. Wow. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to take down that banner we don't need that up anymore. And let's start to do this.
Hey!
Oh, awesome.
Yay. Okay. So, Marcio, maybe? Sorry. I'm not always good with
I'm the
names.
same way. I have 5 kids, so I even call them different names.
Yeah, I know we've had that conversation.
Yeah.
You even mix them up.
You.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
I need you to just send us an email to marketing@streamyard.com. Give us your address and we will get that out to you right away.
Yeah.
So congratulations. I'm very excited for that. Ian, where can people follow you, find more about you, learn about you, get to know you better?
Well, like wherever you want to kind of hang out. Probably the easiest place is my website, which is iag.me. And check out my podcast, the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. It's at iag.me/podcast. But I've kind of carelessly scattered myself across all the socials. So if you want to follow me engage with me on Instagram, that's fine. Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. I would love it if you could not just follow me, but like get in touch and we can have a chat and actually have a good time. I've actually done something very radical on Twitter, and I actually unfollowed everyone on Twitter before Christmas, which I know is radical, but what I'm really focused on now is following people back and getting to know people and having real relationships with people. So yeah, that's what I'm focused on.
I'm gonna have to see if I've made it back to your list yet or not.
Well, you're definitely, you are on my follow back list. I may not have followed you quite yet, but I'm guessing there because what I'm doing, call me mad.
I love that though. I really do.
Yeah. But I'm actually sending a tweet. I've got a Twitter thread where I'm actually mentioning every person that I'm following one by one. It may be the worst thing in the world. I don't know, but I'm trying it and I'm loving it.
I love the thread. I saw StreamYard in there the other day and Gage, and I was like, I love the way that you're doing that thread.
Right. That's a huge trend right now where people are like, listen, I really want to give value and connect, and I love that you're doing that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, with that, I want to thank everybody so much for joining us on your Friday afternoon, evening, morning, whatever. It might be Saturday morning if you're over in Australia, depending on where you are at. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Ian, thank you for joining us on your Friday evening. And I will see you guys. We will be back next month on the second Friday. We've got a fun show planned for you with a fun guest, and we will announce that soon. All right. You guys have a wonderful day.
Toodaloo.